Good Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Taylor Stephenson with 13 News Now, and we are underneath a weather impact alert for today as we're tracking showers and thunderstorms through Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina. There is a small bullseye for the potential of severe weather this afternoon and evening as these storms do roll through our area. We're underneath a level 2 out of 5 risk, or a slight risk, which is a low to medium risk of severe weather. Today, we could see large hail and damaging wind gusts. Those are our main threats. Now, good news is the atmosphere is not primed to set up for tornadoes. Could that change? Maybe, and that did change as we had the severe weather on Monday. But we are watching for just large hail and damaging winds. Flooding is not a concern for us today, as one, the showers and thunderstorms will be pretty scattered in nature, and they won't really train as much, meaning going over the same areas for a long period of time. But in poor drainage areas, you may see a little bit of a buildup, but that should subside pretty quickly. So I'm going to be here with you until we get into our evening shows that start at 4 p.m. You can stream them right here on 13 News Now Plus. And I'll be here with you over the next hour and a half or so, tracking the storms with you as we prepare for the storms to enter. Now, we are seeing a little bit of activity starting to spark up now, but the bulk of the storms, especially the strongest storms, really won't come around until about 4 or 5 p.m. as we get into the peak heat of the day. But again, still seeing a couple of lightning strikes here around the area so far today. So let's get into the local satellite and radar. Right now, satellite and radar for us is showing that we have a little bit of clearing in the clouds, and that actually will help us get to warmer temperatures this afternoon. So here's a look at that satellite and radar, and you can see in those areas where the clouds are really pulling out to sea. We have some very thick cloud cover around noon today, but notice in these areas right here around the southern south side in the northeast North Carolina, we're seeing some of those clouds becoming more of fair weather cumulus almost, but we are tracking a few showers that are coming across the bay at this moment. So let's zoom in here to show you a little bit of that downpour, and I'll stop the radar right here around 2:30, and you can see some of that heavier rainfall coming through. Let's see if I can get a little bit of a query on this so we can see how much rainfall is coming through, if that will allow me to do that. If not, I'll just go over to our radar. Let's see if I can get to the radar. Reflectivity, here we go. Now let's try to do a little query on this. Rainfall rate intensity is a little bit less than an inch per hour. What we're talking about for today is heavy rainfall coming through, but they're going to be in pockets. And again, these should be very quickly moving. Obviously not seeing any warnings on this system. I'm not even seeing any lightning with this. Our radar does pick up lightning strikes, and I'm not seeing any here in our general area. So that rain is coming through just east of Beaverlet into Peary and Motor Run. You're seeing some light to moderate rainfall, but most of this is right now over the central parts of the bay. So Exmoor, getting into Bird's Nest, you're going to see some of that rainfall soon, heading up Highway 13 up the eastern shore. So if you're in those areas, brace for some heavy rainfall about to come your direction in the next few minutes as it crosses over the bay and into the eastern shore. Now, we are tracking another shower or two across the peninsula at the moment. Lee Hall, we're seeing a little bit of rain, so up 64. So if you live near Enterprise Drive, below Flats Drive, you're also seeing some light rainfall as well. We're going to continue to see some heavier rainfall just around the James River as you get just north of central Newport News. So near the Marine Corps Reserve Center, we're seeing some heavier rainfall at the moment right now. Now we are talking temperatures across the area in the 70s, but we could climb a little bit more, and that will help us with the fact that we may get a little bit more energy for these storms to get going later on. But right now, this is just a shower, not seeing any lightning associated with this. Near Big Belfort Road, as you get into Newport News, tracking into Hampton, we are seeing some light to moderate rainfall there. And also near Deer Park, so just south of I-64. That's around the peninsula. Now, going to the south side, we are seeing a little bit of rainfall coming down through parts of Chelsea Business District into Ghent. So we're seeing some of that rainfall coming through there in pockets that are a little bit heavier. We'll go a little bit closer in. Lambert's Point, so Miscellaneous Street to 48th Street, we're also seeing some of that rainfall too. Now into 64, heading up towards the HRBT. There's also a little bit of rainfall there in Ocean View down to Denby Park. But downtown Norfolk, we're okay right now, but rain may track a little bit into our area over the next few minutes. Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, you're fine. We are seeing a very light shower as you head near Smithfield, so Isle of Wight. We're getting a little tiny shower near Nike Park Road into Smith's Neck Road, Country Way. It's just south of you in a doglet lane, but look how minor these showers are. Now, I do want to give you a little bit of radar knowledge. I know you may see these little small, what looks like rain, so small little lines that are green. Do you see that? That is actually radar scatter. So that's not going to be any rainfall at that point. That's just some of that reflecting off of the beam there in the radar site at Wakefield, which is where the Weather Service is at the moment. But we are tracking a shower just to the west of Franklin. This one is producing a little bit more heavy rainfall. So we're getting close near Handsome, Cortland, Newsome's, Black Creek. We're seeing some heavy rainfall. So I'll take a little bit of a query here and see how much rain is falling. So this rainfall rate is almost 1 1/4 inch an hour, which is pretty heavy rainfall. But think of it this way. If the storm was to sit over places just west of Franklin for an hour, then we would pick up that rainfall up to 1 1/4 inches over an hour. But because these showers will be moving from northwest to southeast, that means that we will not be seeing that rainfall rate really coming down and producing 1 inch an hour. We may only pick up, with this system that we have rolling through with these showers and thunderstorms, maybe 1/4 inch of rain, maybe 1/2 inch of rain. And that just goes to show you how spotty these showers and thunderstorms will be, but also how these storms will be fairly quickly moving. So they're not going to be sitting over places for too long. We're also watching for a shower that is now in Emporia, about to enter into our area. So Druryville, be aware that you may get a little bit of rainfall over the next few minutes, but even that rainfall there will be light. Let's take it over to northeast North Carolina, where a lot of nothing is happening at the moment. We have Moyock, Reynoldston, Elizabeth City, Ahoskie, Mittensville, Eatonton, Poplar Branch, Kidulva Hills, Rodanthe, Avon, Buxton, Ocracoke. All of you guys are fine at the moment. Not seeing any rainfall. But what I'm watching for are these showers and thunderstorms developing just north and west of Richmond. That is the beginning of what will be the system rolling through coastal Virginia and coastal North Carolina over the next, I guess it wouldn't even be few hours. It's anywhere from about now through about 8 p.m. So the next 5 to 6 hours. This is just the beginning of what is to come. And as you can see, some pretty heavy rainfall coming through now just east of Cunningham. So let me get a little bit of an estimate on the rainfall rate there. And rainfall rates almost close to 2 inches per hour. So really heavy rainfall coming down just south of I-64 between Lake Monticello and Fork Union. So that's the rainfall heading our direction. And I'll give you a bigger view so you can see what's going on here. You can see the rain is still very far away, still northwest of Richmond. But that will be tracking to our area as we get into the next few hours. It will go this, wrong tool. It will be going this direction. Get my little pointer out. Be going this direction. So from northwest to southeast through our area. And we're already seeing that with this small cell right here as it's tracking kind of that general direction. But overall right now, I know it says lightning strikes about 32. That's including the stuff that's out into the Atlantic. But right now, not seeing any lightning strikes at the moment, and we only had 5 over the past few minutes. So right now, the most intense storms are yet to come, so we still have a little bit of time left until we get those showers and thunderstorms going. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about this weather impact alert so you know exactly what we're talking about for today as we walk you through the next 5 to 6 hours. I'm also graced by the presence of Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages. He's in the background, so he will be there live with you at 4, 5, and 6 p.m. To track you through. And if anything becomes more severe, if we have any active warnings, you will see us possibly both pop up at the same time. It reminds me of Monday where we were just, doing severe weather coverage, and we even had tornado warnings in the mix. Now, again, that threat for tornadoes is low, but we will keep up with it because just like on Monday, when we did have a low tornado risk, they put us into a risk later on that afternoon, and then we had multiple tornado warnings. But again, the atmosphere just does not look set up to have the spin we need to get tornadoes going. So a weather impact alert is in effect from now, which I can change to now until 8 p.m. And this is really for those thunderstorms that may produce some gusty winds and some large hail. Now, it's super interesting to see the hail coming through our area this large. Usually that's more of a Midwest thing. You need a lot of buoyancy to get that really large hail and very strong updrafts. And what that means is that we are pushing a lot of wind up into the storm. And when you do that, you get these water droplets. And the water droplets, because they're so high up in the atmosphere, they freeze, right? And so through the way that we grow ice, the hail kind of becomes a ball as you get these small ice pellets growing on top of each other as the winds continue to push it up. But once the hail becomes too heavy for that really strong wind, the updraft, carry up into a storm, it falls down in the form of hail. And in our evening shows, I will break down the difference between hail and sleet because they are completely different in the way they form, especially as we talk about the significance of hail today. So what you need to do is stay weather aware. That means downloading our 13 News Now Plus app on your TV. You can download it through Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Roku TV today, and it's absolutely free to you. For those who are anticipating the severe weather, we'll be tracking it through our evening shows, and that will also be streamed on our 13 News Now Plus app. If you want to get alerts sent straight to your phone when we have tornado warnings specifically, but we also do push for other severe weather like severe thunderstorm warnings, make sure to download the 13 News Now app on your phone so you can get alerts sent straight to your phone. But again, the best way to track it with us is through the 13 News Now Plus app on your TV, which most of you, if you're watching me now, you already have it. So thank you so much for downloading that. That's one way to stay weather aware. Of course, if you have a NOAA radio, it's also a great way to make sure that you're getting different ways of receiving alerts. Because for those who don't know, a lot of the stuff that we tell you through TV actually comes from the Weather Service first. We're almost like the liaisons between the government and the general public. And so they issue those warnings. So a NOAA radio is a perfect thing to have during severe weather. And even as we talk about hurricanes, because today is one of the last days of Hurricane Preparedness Week here in Virginia, it's best to have that NOAA radio in multiple ways to get alerts, not only through severe weather season, but through hurricane season as well, which starts in less than a month on June 1st. Right now, we are underneath a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. It goes from the south side, as you see, south side, including most of the south side, but all the way up into Newport News and into Hampton. So all 7 cities you are included, but Poquoson, you are not included in that level 2 out of 5 risk. That is a level 1 out of 5 risk. As we get into the south side, we're talking Ivor into Rushmere. Surrey, you're not included in this. Surrey County, you're not included in this. Smithfield, you are. Windsor, Franklin, Cortland, Newsoms. We're seeing that we're seeing that level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. Suffolk, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach also included in this. Now, this Level 2 actually started in North Carolina this morning and really included the Outer Banks mainly. So it has expanded since this morning and now includes most of northeast North Carolina, honestly all of northeast North Carolina, but it does have a hard cutoff. So between Rodanthe and Avon, there's a cutoff in that yellow and green between the level 1 and level 2. Cutover Hills, Elizabeth City, Eatonton, Ahoskie, Moyock, Gumneck, Williamston, you're all in this level 2 out of 5 risk. Now, just because you're in the green doesn't mean that you won't see severe weather. Your threat is just lower. So if you're in the green, we're talking anywhere from Melfa, Chincoteague, down through Williamsburg, into Matthews and Gloucester Point, Emporia, Roanoke Rapids, Rocky Mount, you're also included in a risk for organized severe weather, but your threat is much lower than the immediate coastline in this yellow color. Now, we're not the only ones here across the U.S. who can see severe weather today. It also tracks all the way down the East Coast, so through coastal Carolinas into Charleston, that's a level 1, but for Savannah, into Brunswick, so southeast Georgia, we're also seeing that level 2 out of 5 risk for Jacksonville down to Daytona Beach, Orlando, Melbourne, and stopping at Fort Pierce down in eastern central Florida. But we are the only place in the U.S., this East Coast range through the Gulf states, that has the potential for severe weather, and we're only one of 2 places where we could see some more organized, scattered severe thunderstorms here across the U.S. Now, with the severe weather today, what I like to do on these streams, because it gives us a little bit more time to go in depth, I actually like to read you guys the government discussions a little bit, so that you kind of understand how we're translating it almost. Translation in quotes. I mean, it's in English, but they're very scientific terms, so I kind of like to show you guys that so we can do a little bit more weather knowledge in these streams, because that's what they're meant for. It's meant for us to actually get into the nitty-gritty about what's going on here. So I'm going to pull up the Storm Prediction Center discussion. And now the Storm Prediction Center, for those who don't know, that is based in Norman, Oklahoma, so my old stomping grounds. Actually, literally in the same building that I studied weather in, meteorology in. So this is based in Norman, Oklahoma, but they are over the entire U.S. when it comes to issuing these level 1 through 5 severe weather outlooks. So let's look at the discussion. Now, they do break it up into southeastern, like Gulf Coast to Florida, and then mid-Atlantic into the Carolinas. So I'll only talk about the mid-Atlantic to the Carolinas because we're not as concerned with what's going on in Florida, but we will keep them in mind as this system rolls through. So what the Storm Prediction Center says, this is from meteorologist Mosier. He says, afternoon thunderstorm development is anticipated across the region, with the highest coverage from Tidewater, which is us obviously, into east central North Carolina, where forcing along the front will be the strongest. So what he's saying is, we call these diurnal storms, meaning that they come in during the afternoon or when the temperatures are the hottest. Usually that is during the afternoon time, right? On a typical day. Now, if we have a cold front that rolls through during the morning time, then usually our afternoon highs are reversed to morning highs. But in this case, like a typical afternoon, we have our afternoon high temperatures are the hottest compared to morning time temperatures. So what he's saying in this first part of the discussion for the mid-Atlantic into the Carolinas is that the afternoon thunderstorm development is happening because we have really hot temperatures, but also he talked about forcing. And that goes into our acronym SLIM. S, and I'll come back on camera for this so you can kind of see my mouth. S stands for shear. And now this is particularly for tornadic supercells. So you don't really have to have as much wind shear sometimes when it comes to non-tornadic supercells, but we'll talk about the severe weather ingredients. S stands for shear, wind shear. And wind shear is a turning of wind direction with height, or the changing of wind speed with height as you go up into the atmosphere. So that's S, right? And when you have the turning of direction with height, or the change of speed with height, that's how you get that rotation, right? L stands for lift, and that is just another, like a smaller word for forcing. And that's what they mentioned in this discussion, forcing. So forcing means, think about it, if you're trying to force something to be move somewhere else, you're pushing all your weight into moving it in that direction. Same with the atmosphere. When we have forcing, it's trying its best to push all of this moisture, all these ingredients up into the atmosphere. And a lot of times you get forcing or lift, which is the L and the SLIM acronym for severe weather, when we have a cold front, because cold fronts push a lot of that moisture up into the atmosphere. And so what he's saying here, or she is saying here in this discussion, is that we have a lot of what we call lift, or forcing, meaning that along this frontal boundary, our cold front, which I'll show you in a minute, we have a lot of lift coming through that helps the atmosphere really build up those clouds to make them really high and mature. So I'll show you a little bit of what I'm talking about with this storm as I get into this radar. But this is where our cold front is. And let me see if I can put on our surface map. So it's a little messy, but here's that cold front. So what meteorologist Mosier is saying is that in this section, where this cold front is, that is where we have the most lift to push these thunderstorms up into our area, and bringing us into parts of the area where we're talking a little bit of that forcing that pushes everything back up, and makes it into thunderstorms. And it's going to be right in this general area as you see the cold front draped here. And we're watching for these storms to push through. So that's what they mean by forcing. Going on to the next sentence. The strongest shear is anticipated across the region, but the overall magnitude will be modest, suggesting deep layer shear around 35 knots. So they're talking about wind shear, which I just talked to you about with the changing of direction or wind speed with height. And so that's why we could see some of those gustier winds. We also are talking about buoyancy, and that's where we get severe thunderstorms that could produce hail in this situation as well. We need a lot of buoyancy to get this going. And so they're saying buoyancy may be modest as well, mid-level cape, likely maximizing around 800 to 1,000 joules per kilogram. So what we're talking about for this type of setup is we have a little bit of cape. Now, cape is going to be what we talked about. And if you want to look back at our 13newsnow.com, meteorologist Hunter Forrest broke that down. But cape is going to be how much energy we have. And again, because we are having this energy that comes through our area right around the afternoon and evening with the peak heat of the day, that's how you get more energy. Now, 800 to 1,000 joules per kilogram isn't the most intense amount of energy that I've seen. On Monday, to put that in perspective, when we had our severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings, we had 1,500 joules per kilogram, which is a lot of energy. So 800 to 1,000 is all right. It's fine. It's enough to get storms going. You really need anywhere from about 500 to 1,000, but it's not the most intense ones I've seen. Even back when I was in central Georgia, we had some cape that was 2,000 to 2,500. I mean, that's a lot of energy to tap into. So you're not having the most energy here across Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina, but just enough to where we are talking some of that energy enough to really get these storms going. So that's what they're talking about for cape. And then this is the last sentence of the discussion. These environmental conditions support the potential for some organized updrafts, which I was talking about, with the potential for some larger hail, but also damaging winds. So all I have to say, we have really strong winds going up into the atmosphere, producing these thunderstorms, and that will produce damaging wind gusts and large hail. So looking at the radar again, we're watching as this cold front moves through. Right now, seeing a little bit more development in some of those showers and thunderstorms, producing a little bit of rainfall here. We'll see going into. So Hampton, you're now seeing that heavier rainfall near Black River, the heart of Hampton, as you enter and exit the HRBT on the peninsula side. So for those who are just about to exit off into or head towards the peninsula, you are going to run into some rain. If you're heading towards the south side from the peninsula, you're going to run into some rain as well. That could also cause a little bit of traffic, especially because we already know that HRBT can be traffic heavy on a regular day. You add on some heavy rainfall, and it's definitely going to be more heavy. So, or the traffic itself will be heavier. So here's a look at the rainfall rates, still dropping over an inch per hour, but we will see the potential for some rainfall rates, as we've already seen, up to about 2 inches per hour. And with this system, while it will dump heavy rain, again, we're not really concerned too much about that flooding potential, mainly only the potential for some of those very poor drainage areas to see a little bit of buildup. So with this system, again, we're just watching out for strong winds I just mentioned with those stronger updrafts and that heavy rainfall as we get across the area. So for us here today, right now, we aren't seeing any severe weather in our area at the moment, but it could continue. It could start to pick up, especially as we get our hottest temperatures. And I'll show you that where we are here right now and where we could be by later on in the next hour or two. So let's get back into the forecast confidence after reading that discussion. And then I'll also talk about one more other discussion. We have Mesoscale analyses that also determine whether they're going to issue severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. So, severe thunderstorm watches or tornado watches. So I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So our threat significance for today is not Sunday, today is Friday. So our threat significance for your Friday is that we do have gusty winds, hail possible. The hail will be in the medium range, gusty winds anywhere from low to medium. Tornadoes, again, this is not the atmosphere for tornadoes at this point, and flooding will be low. But hail is our biggest risk for today, so watching out for that. I'll give you one more look at the radar to see if there's any other storms that I want to pick out before we get into our forecast confidence. And our confidence in if we will see a severe thunderstorm watch issued. We're seeing right now a shower that has developed over the CBBT, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, off of Highway 13 that takes you from Virginia Beach all the way up into the eastern shore. And so that's a very heavy shower right there right now. So for those who are thinking about taking the CBBT, be careful for sure. Right now, rainfall rates are less than an inch per hour, but again, that's only if that storm or shower was to stay over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel for an hour. So this should be moving out fairly quickly, but it is producing some moderately heavy rainfall. So being careful of that. Taking you as we get into parts of the south side, Eclipse. You're starting to see some of that rain into Cretanton, down to Hobson, near Highway 17, as you see just moved over the highway there. As you get between right into the top parts of Suffolk. So rainfall coming there down near Governor's Point Drive, Wentworth Court, Eclipse Drive, and then getting closer to Harborview. So you may see a little bit of rain there. Newport News, as you get into the Monitor Merrimack, just south of the entrance to the Monitor Merrimack, we're seeing some very light showers now, but this shower has really developed near Fort Monroe. Very heavy rainfall coming now through Hampton. I'm going to check again to see what the rainfall rates are. Yeah, now it's 2 inches per hour. Well, over 2 inches per hour, 2.21 inches. So really intense rainfall coming down near Buckrow Beach, down to Fort Monroe, Fenwick Drive, over the HRBT. So I would assume that we would have some heavier traffic. And actually, I can pull up our traffic flows because for those who don't know, our traffic flows are also a part of our graphic system. They are not a different system. So let's see if I can pull up our traffic network to see what's going on there at the moment. We do have a few crashes going on now. Let's see if these traffic flows will filter in. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time for these flows to kind of get going when they're entered into a new system. But for those who are just joining me, I'm going to reintroduce myself once again. I am meteorologist Taylor Stephenson with 13 News Now, and we are tracking the potential for showers and thunderstorms. That some thunderstorms could become severe later on today. We are going to see a little bit of that rainfall coming through now. That could be heavier at times, but we haven't hit the peak heat of the day just yet. So we are waiting for the most intense rainfall to come through later on today, but also a few thunderstorms are starting to develop near Richmond, and they'll roll in from northwest to southeast, and that will bring us some of those storms. Now, we could see heavy rainfall, gusty winds, also large hail. Large hail being our main threat for today. Gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour, and we could see some heavier rainfall. But thankfully, most of that heavy rainfall should not lead to any flooding because these storms will be fairly quickly moving. Now, if you want to engage with this stream, definitely make sure to text us, not call, at 757-628-6200. That's 757-628-6200, and I will try my best to answer your questions you have. I have my digital team on standby watching for your questions to come in. If you have any questions, it can be something as local as what's going to go on in my neighborhood, and you just provide the neighborhood for me. What's going to go on in Hampton Roads and Northeast North Carolina in general? What's the timeline? What are the impacts we could see? Why is this rain or thunderstorms even happening? I can answer all of those questions, and I will go back into depth about different little analyses of what's going on here across Hampton Roads and Northeast North Carolina as we get into the next few minutes. But again, text me your questions. Please do not call. We will not answer your phone call. Text us at 757-628-6200, and I'll try my best to answer it. Again, my digital team is on standby for watching these showers and thunderstorms. Now, I try to give my traffic network a little bit of time to update those flows. Not really seeing that. Okay, now as I zoom in, there we go. Of course, as I zoom in. But we're seeing that really heavy rainfall, and you can kind of see that lining up, and I think I can add the radar on here too. Yeah, so here we go. We have the radar on top of our traffic flows, and as you see, the heavy rainfall over Fort Monroe, but look how heavy this traffic is. It looks more like it's due to this crash right here as you get into Hampton. So let me see if I can get that little information going on here near that crash in Hampton. But this is going to be as you get near Pine Chapel Village. This is on I-64, and it seems like a crash is blocking at least a lane or so, but it's causing heavy delays. But it looks like a lot of that rainfall is starting to cause a little bit of delays there near Washington Gardens. So this is going to be on Highway 258 in East Hampton near Stonehurst Road, a little bit of heavy traffic there. And of course, heading towards the peninsula, we also are seeing some heavier traffic as well going into the HRBT from the Norfolk side of things. Not really seeing any delays there, as many there on Highway 13 with that shower that was in place. So it looks like a lot of these are not really weather related. That's good news. But just be careful as you're heading to the HRBT. We're seeing a lot of traffic, and same with the Monitor Merrimack, but that just comes with the time of day it is. It's around 3 o'clock. 3 to 6 is usually our afternoon rush hour. So be careful. But it looks like most of this is not weather related, which is good news. Okay, so now I'm going to go into our mesoscale analyses. And that is from the Weather Prediction Center. Not the same thing as the Storm Prediction Center, the Weather Prediction Center. And they send out these analyses to see, hey, do we have enough going for the afternoon in terms of storms to issue watches downstream? So I'm going to go to our mesoscale analyses to see what is going on with us today. So they put out little mesoscale discussions. There's one for the Florida Panhandle, there's one for Eastern Florida, and there's one for Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina. So what they're saying is isolated hail and gusty winds are possible this afternoon in that same corridor. And I'll pull up our Storm Prediction Center outlook because it aligns exactly with this little bubble. But in this bubble, if my computer will allow me to click around, that'd be great. There we go. So in this yellow bubble, this yellow, I guess you could call it a semicircle, we will have the opportunity for seeing that. And I see, don't you just love a chief who listens? He is over there putting up stuff here on our radar, our maps that I was just talking about. So I'm going to pull that up. That is on Max 2, correct, Tim? Max 1. Okay. So on Max 1, there we go. So this is a mesoscale discussion, and it lines up exactly with what we're seeing on our SPC outlook. I'm going to give you that. So that's SPC. That's our level 2 out of 5 risk. This is the mesoscale analysis in that red color. So 20% chance of a severe thunderstorm watch. So for those who don't know, the Weather Prediction Center, the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, they will issue a watch issuance probability, meaning that this is how likely we are to issue a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. 20% is extremely low. I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, it's nice that you told us this, but it doesn't really mean anything for us at the end of the day because it means that you're not going to issue a severe thunderstorm watch. But when you get to the 60 to 80% range, most of the time they're going to issue a watch for the area. So their summary is basically saying that a few strong storms could produce marginally severe hail, meaning hail up to 1 inch, and locally gusty winds up to about 60 miles per hour this afternoon in southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina. So 20% chance is super duper low. I mean, they even say in their discussion, watch unlikely. So I mean, we could have severe thunderstorms. That's not what they're not saying. We will still have the probability of having some thunderstorm warnings, but they're not going to issue a watch for the area. Remember, a watch is going to be your big area. So like think of this red circle that encompasses all of those areas, and it's a long period of time for a watch. Watches are usually hours long, and that just gives you the opportunity to be prepared for severe weather incoming. A warning means that the threat is imminent. That means that there are 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in your area, or there is large hail in your area, or in the case of a tornado warning, the threat of a tornado is imminent in your area. Those boxes are usually much, much smaller, only encompass a couple of counties, if that, and we don't even have counties here, especially in Hampton Roads. So a couple of cities, and they only last for 30 to 45 minutes. So that's kind of the two determinations between a watch and a warning. A watch is going to be longer term, downstream. They're going to be hours long in a huge box. Warnings are going to be smaller boxes, and they're going to last maybe up to 45 minutes. But they can be extended to last a little bit longer. But let's get into the discussion of this mesoscale analysis, our mesoscale discussion. Okay. So it says deepening cumulus is noted in visible satellite imagery this afternoon in the vicinity of the cold front. So what they're saying is that we have cumulus clouds out there, and they're starting to grow in size. And as they grow in size, that makes them get a little bit more mature, and gives them the ability to become cumulonimbus clouds. And so if you remember in like 4th grade, 5th grade, we talked about cumulonimbus, right? And those are the ones that can produce thunderstorms. And so they're saying that they're seeing on our satellite that is up in space showing all of the cloud cover, that we're seeing some cumulus clouds up there that are starting to become a little bit more mature, and it's right there along the front, along the same front that I showed you. And I'll go back to our reflectivity so I can pull up the cold front. Going to surface map and going to max 2. This cold front, you can see that we are seeing where they're talking about. So I'll even go to our satellite and radar so you can actually see what they're discussing with these cumulus clouds that are starting to develop. I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit because this angle looks a little bit wide. Yeah. So I'll stop it now so you can see, but they're talking about, you see how you can kind of see the like popcorn shape of these these clouds, and then a few of them are producing heavy downpours now right along this cold front. That's what they're talking about. Okay, so they're talking about modest destabilization. That's a big word for just saying modest energy. This update for me? It might have just updated in my face. Yeah, it updated a little bit, but the watch issuance is still 20%. Okay. Modest destabilization, meaning that the atmosphere is becoming more prime for severe weather, is occurring across Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina, aided by cooling aloft. And then, let's see, and as that low pressure comes through. So basically saying that there is that low pressure system and the cold front, they're pushing through the area. Again, we're talking about that lift that comes through, and the lift helps to push these that moisture and everything up into the atmosphere. And then we're also talking about the mid-level lapse rates that makes the atmosphere a little bit more unstable. While the boundary level moisture is modest, so we have dew point temperatures in the 60s, which is enough to get thunderstorms going. We have energy, which we talked about just a few minutes ago, mid-level CAPE, so which is signified by MLCAPE, mid-level CAPE, which is the energy we have to go with. 500 to 750 joules per kilogram will be overspread this evening. Like I was saying, 500 to 750 joules per kilogram is actually fairly low. It's enough to get thunderstorms going, but it's just not the greatest. I mean, again, compared to Monday, we had enough energy around 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram, meaning that we had a lot of energy to work with. This is enough to get thunderstorms going, just not the greatest. Sufficient shear, say that 3 times fast. Sufficient shear is in place for some updraft organization. So basically saying, again, the turning of wind direction and speed with height is there. So updrafts mean those winds going up into that storm. That will be enough to produce some gusty winds and some large hail. So yes, that's basically what they're saying. I kind of just took the words out their mouth. They're just saying because they're issuing this 20% chance of a watch issuance because the instability or the energy is like not the greatest, and also there'd be a lower storm coverage. So remember I was talking about earlier, this is not going to be a widespread rainfall event. This is going to be more of your popcorn showers and thunderstorms. Not everybody will see a thunderstorm. I think that most of us will see a shower. I would say about 70%, but not everybody's going to see a thunderstorm. And so that's why they're not going to really issue I'll have to say that's why they're not going to issue a severe thunderstorm watch. But again, this is not to say we won't have a warning. It just means that there's not going to be a widespread from now until 8 p.m. We're going to have this watch. So that seems that we have the chance of seeing a severe thunderstorm, but it's just not going to be as widespread enough to put that watch in place. Now, again, if you are listening to me and you want to ask any questions, sometimes I do speak a little bit fast. It's just the southern nature of my speaking. So if you want to talk to me with any questions you have, please text us. It's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Text us at 757-628-6200, and that will give us the opportunity to really answer your questions and make sure that we're getting everything that you need to know. Make sure to text us. Please don't call us because we will not be able to answer any calls, but we can answer texts for sure. And then my digital team is tracking all of that with me as we go throughout the rest of the stream. And this stream will continue until about 4 p.m. when we hit our newscast coverage, and then you'll see meteorologists or chief meteorologist Chimpanjages tracking the storms with you, and I'll be here in the background just in case anything happens. But for now, it's about 3:20. I'm gonna take a small break. I'm gonna leave it on the radar so you can watch what's going on here across the area, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Well, thank you so much for waiting, everyone, as I took a little bit of a break to get my thoughts together, get a little drink of water, because for those who know, um, talking for 30 minutes straight can be a lot. So thank you so much for staying with us. We are still tracking some showers and thunderstorms, and now around 3:30, we're starting to see a lot of that really sparking up here across Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina. And so right now, our radar is showing that we are seeing a little bit of that rainfall coming through now here across our area, mainly as you head into parts of the peninsula and the eastern shore and down through the south side. We're seeing some of that rainfall. So Melfa down into Exmoor, we're seeing some moderate rainfall at this moment. And then heading into Cape Charles and Townsend, we're seeing a little bit of moderate rainfall. This cell has been producing some pretty heavy rainfall at times. And this is the shower that was over Hampton not too long ago. So again, this is why I'm not really concerned that much about flooding. It's because these showers and thunderstorms have been fairly quickly moving. Willoughby Beach, near the Willoughby Spit, down into extreme western portions of Norfolk. We have some moderate rainfall just about to enter downtown Norfolk. We're fine, but as you head near Park Place and Colonial Place, you're seeing some rain. Washington Park through I-64, some light rain there. Down to 64, Little Haven, Lynn Haven, just south of Allenton, we're seeing some of that rainfall. Lincoln and the Lincoln Bay, you're about to get some light rainfall. And then the Virginia Beach oceanfront, you may see a few sprinkles from that system as it rolls through. We do have some heavier rainfall that was over the CBBC that's now moving out to sea at this point. We do have some heavy rainfall coming through in parts of the the western portions of Suffolk, Kings Fork down to Loomis. We're seeing some of that heavy rainfall coming through. So make sure that you're watching this weather for this time for the commute right around Suffolk. Now, we do have a question from one of our viewers. Thank you so much for answering that question. If you have any questions, please text them to 757-628-6200. We do not answer your calls, but if you do have some questions, you can text us at 757-628-6200, scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And this question is coming from Chesapeake. Is there a tornado threat of any kind? That's a great question. And so right now we don't have the dynamics in place for a tornado, but we do have dynamics in place for some of those bigger hail pockets. So we could see some large hail up to about a quarter size here in Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina. And that could be, again, just pick up a quarter. That size is what we could see for today. That's going to be our biggest threat for today. We also are watching for some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour, but that's a pretty typical threat here in Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina. For seeing that gusty wind up to about 60 miles per hour, but the large hail is something we don't really typically see, and we saw that on Monday. So it's interesting again that we are still seeing that large hail threat for today as well. But on our threat significance, you can see that our tornado threat is low. Flooding is also low. So thank you so much for your question, but we are not watching for any of that hail threat again for us today. Any of that tornado threat again for us today. We're really watching for the hail threat and for that threat of some of those gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour. For those who are just joining me, hi, I'm Meteorologist Taylor Stephenson with 13 News Now, and we are tracking the potential for scattered showers and scattered storms that may become severe later on today. Again, that could produce some large hail up to about quarter size. So pick up a quarter, look at it. That's about the size, about an inch in diameter. Also, we are watching for the potential of some gusty to damaging winds up to about 60 miles miles per hour. And that, again, could lead to some straight line wind damage. You can see some branches blown over, but making sure that you're indoors when thunder roars. Again, tornadoes are not our threat for today. Nowhere across Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina. I will make sure that that's updated now. I'm going to head to the Storm Prediction Center's website to make sure that we are still underneath just wind and hail threat. But yes, it's just wind and hail for us here in southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. So overall, we are looking at your severe thunderstorms, and we are not going to be placed into a severe thunderstorm watch at this point. Only going to be in those, just the outlook for some of those severe thunderstorms. We are not placed in a watch because, one, the storms will just not be as widespread, but two, because the energy we have in place will just not be as good. So what we're talking about for now is the potential to see some of those thunderstorms that could produce some heavier rainfall at times for us, but we have that threat significance meter. As you see, it's a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather for Hampton Roads, all 7 cities, down to the south side and in the northeast North Carolina. Our main threat is going to be hail for us today. Gusty winds will also be a threat for today, but not as big of a threat as hail. Tornadoes, to answer again for someone who sent in the question, appreciate your question. Our threat for tornadoes is not going to be in place for today. Flooding will also be on the very, very low side, mainly for heavy rainfall and for places that will have the potential of some ponding just because of poor drainage. But we have seen some rainfall rates up to about 2 inches per hour. I'll take a brief break real quick just to give you guys a little bit of time to assess this graphic. I'll be back in just 1 minute. And if you have any questions about this threat significance, make sure to text us at 757-628-6200, and we can answer all the questions for you. Or I guess I can, because I'm the one in charge. Okay, so going back to our live radar, and I'll show you where the storms are coming through at this moment. We are seeing some pockets of some heavier rainfall, especially as you get into Suffolk. So if you live in Suffolk, you're just about to see some really heavy rainfall coming through near Elephant Fork, Manning, and into the western portions of Suffolk. Right now, rainfall rates in those areas are around 3 inches per hour. I mean, these are really heavy downpours. But it makes sense, though, because we also are seeing some very humid conditions. All that moisture is just being pulled from the atmosphere and just being pulled out of those clouds and dropped down towards the surface. So up to 3 inches per hour. So if this storm was to sit over Suffolk or the western portion of Suffolk until the next hour, so 4:40, then we would see 3 inches of rainfall. But these storms are moving fairly quickly as we get throughout the area. So that's one look at Suffolk. Let's look at some other places around our region. We're seeing a heavy downpour coming through the CBBT again. This is on Highway 13 as you head near Kiptapeak. And this is bringing some light to moderate rainfall now, but the heaviest rainfall looks to remain mainly over the bay. but be careful on the southern end of the eastern shore. We do have some light rainfall, some pockets of moderate rainfall near Ocean View and Norfolk down to Glenwood Park. And then Azalea Acres, we're seeing a little bit of light rain, and just north and east of downtown near Princess Anne Road, East Princess Anne Road. So that's getting closer to like the neighborhood Walmart. We are seeing a little bit of a small shower. As you get down into Portsmouth, we are seeing a little bit of rain there as well. As you get near Ghostport and then down to Victory Park, around 264 and 664 interchanges. So Rotunda Avenue, Cook Boulevard, Warfield Drive, Victory Park. That's where we're seeing near Hoyt Acres. Virginia Beach Oceanfront, just north of the oceanfront, so near Cavalier Park on the north end of Virginia Beach. We're seeing some of that rainfall coming down near Atlantic Avenue. So yes, starting to become a little bit more rainy here across the area. Melfa and Chincoteague, you're seeing some rain, Bloxham as well. Wachapreague, Exmoor, seeing some light to moderate rainfall there around the eastern shore. And then a small shower near Moon on the Middle Peninsula. Hudgens, seeing some light rainfall as well. Northeast North Carolina, haven't seen anything yet, but we're watching for these showers that are developing just to our west, producing some heavier rainfall near Halifax, near Enfield, Gold Rock, Castalia, down into Spring Hope and Wendell. We're seeing that rain, and that will track to the south and east. And so we're going to see this moving kind of this direction. So Ahoskie, Eatonton, you may see some rain over the next hour or so. But this is where we're watching for some pretty intense rain. Let's see if I can put my lightning tracker on there. We're seeing a little bit of whitening near Dillwyn, but this is what I'm most concerned about, near Ashby. You see that pink color? I'm going to put my little cursor around it. This pink color right here near Whiteville. That is where I'm concerned for some hail. When you get to those pinks and those whites and the radar reflectivity, that usually is indicative of much bigger hydrometers. So a hydrometer is a big word for something that's falling from the sky. A hydrometer could be a snowflake. A hydrometer could be a rainfall droplet. A hydrometer could be hail. But once you get into those pinks, usually that's indicating that there's something big that the radar beam is hitting, and it's reflecting back to the beam and showing there's something that's much bigger than a raindrop there. So let's see if there's any hail going on there. And yes, exactly what I was just saying. It's showing hail, and that's near Whiteville. Now, the hail is fairly small. Right now, hail size around 3/10 of an inch. I'm going to pull up. Let's see if we can have the look at the hail sizes. So I can show you, like, in relation to what that would be, right? Because I can say 3/10 of an inch, but it may not mean anything to you because hail sizes are, like, a lot of us don't really see a lot of hail. And a lot of hail that comes down here through parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Deep South, that really doesn't stay very long like they do in the Midwest. And so it pretty much melts on contact. So let's look at hail sizes. Boom. Here we go. So when you're getting to around, 2/10 of an inch, which is, or to 3/10 of an inch, it's around a quarter size hail. So we're talking pea-size hail. Something very, very small, but still hail nonetheless coming down there, just around Dillwyn at this moment. But what we saw on Monday, we saw some near golf ball sized hail, ping pong ball sized hail. Say that 5 times fast. But today we can see severe hail up to a quarter. As you see, the severe levels are 1 inch in diameter, so quarter size, all the way up into grapefruit size. Grapefruit is extremely rare. I mean, extremely rare. Pea size, marble size, pretty common. But even quarter size is pretty uncommon. And then the ping pong ball size hail that we had on Monday, that is pretty rare hail. So when I was in Oklahoma, we had like tennis ball, baseball size hail. It was crazy. And we wouldn't get that. The dynamics here are just not enough to produce that kind of hail. You need a lot of buoyancy and a lot of shear to get that going. We talked about that earlier in the newscast. In this stream. But we are talking some pea-sized hail going on now that's right near Dillon. So let me go back to that radar so you can see what I'm talking about. But now when you look at the radar, you can kind of identify, okay, this place may be getting hail because we're seeing pinks and whites on the radar. You see how it's pink color going on, and then you cross compare it with what's going on with hail, and you're seeing a little bit of hail there in that purple. Yeah, it's pretty much pea-sized hail. So the good news for us right now is that the hail is not severe. And there's no severe thunderstorm warning on this, so it may be producing some gusty winds. We'll go over to our wind speeds. So you can see some stronger wind speeds, 36 miles per hour. So getting up to that 40 mile per hour range. So this could be like a special weather statement that's a step down from a severe thunderstorm warning. A special weather statement just says, hey, this thunderstorm is producing some pretty gusty winds, a little bit of hail, but it's not meeting our severe criteria. Severe criteria is, it can be one or the other. Either wind speeds up to about 58 miles per hour and or hail of 1 inch diameter or larger. So because we're only seeing pea-sized hail and because wind gusts are only up to about 40 miles per hour, this could be a special weather statement storm, but this is not going to be a severe storm. So we're watching for that one that is to the west of Richmond. There's no other ones that are piquing my eye right now in terms of producing hail. But we are seeing a few thunderstorms. A thunderstorm developing there in Suffolk is producing some pretty heavy rainfall near Nansemond, up into Baileytown, Russell, Suffolk. Seeing some rainfall rates around 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches. So it definitely is one of those times where like being inside your house is best. And I also want to point out, look at these lightning strikes. You have one that's right here, right by the storm, but you see this other one? Right near Indian Trail, just north of Kenyon. That is the one, that's something that we always talk about, is that these thunderstorms can produce lightning strikes up to 10 miles away from the storm. So just because the thunderstorm is not directly over you does not mean that you do not have a lightning threat. There is still a lightning threat even if you are 10 miles away from the storm. So, watching for that there in Suffolk. Let's go over and see anything else going on here around the area. And I will answer my question in the meantime. So, let's go down to Bertie County. Thank you so much for watching all the way in Bertie County, which is in northeast North Carolina for those who don't know. So in Bertie County, in Allander, are we going to get severe storms tonight? And if we are, what time should we be expecting them? Great question. So in Bertie County, right here, I'm going to show you this area because it is just outside our viewing area, but it makes sense to why you're watching us right now because we bump up into your viewing area. This is Bertie County. This one just south of Ahoskie, this area right here. And that was the same area that we had a couple of tornado warnings on Monday. So severe storms are definitely possible, and I'll go back to our severe thunderstorm outlook so you can see where Bertie County lies in this. And so with our severe thunderstorms today, we're underneath a level 2 out of 5 risk that goes from Hampton and Newport News all the way through the rest of the 7 cities down to the south side. Northeast North Carolina, you're all included in this, and there is Bertie County where you see Lewiston, Woodville, into Windsor, that's Bertie County. And so you're underneath a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather today, meaning that you could see some large hail and some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour. And then this timing, that's a good question. I have not been through the actual timing of this system yet because I've been really focused on radar. But let's go through the timing. So let's walk through our futurecast. This is our futurecast graph, and what I'll do actually is not only take you through a futurecast graph, which is just one model, I'll also take you through our futurecast which is the high resolution rapid refresh. Both of these models, the graph and the HER, are short range models. And so what that means is that they only go out 2 to 3 days at a time. You have what you probably heard of, the American model, which is the GFS, or the European model, which is the Euro model. They go out easily 7 days. Sometimes they can go out 2 weeks. In certain model runs. So it's nice that we have these short range models, because the shorter the range, the more accurate the forecast is. So let's go through the graph, and then I'll go through the HER to see if they align. The more consensus we have between the two models, the better we are understanding the timing of this system. So it is picking up on the storms. I do think this is a little bit overdone for what's going on right now. What we like to do is take wherever the model is doing now, comparing it with the actual radar, and we call that initialization. And so initialization lets us know if this model is already performing well for what's going on currently, or if it's struggling to pick up the rain that's happening. I will say it's doing okay. I think it's overdoing it though. But the storms for Bertie County start around 4 to 5. So you have maybe about 30 minutes till you start to see some rain coming down, but it looks like the strongest storms will actually stay a little bit more to your north and east as they roll through. Then by about 9 p.m., we're seeing the lingering parts of those showers coming through. And then we'll have those north winds, and what north winds will do is bring a drier air. And that drier air will filter in and take away that energy and settle our atmosphere down. So I would say for Bertie County, according to the graph, around 4:15, 4:30. Let's talk about what's going on here with the high resolution rapid refresh as this system loads. Okay, so this is doing a very poor job of talking about what's going on. So I would take, honestly, a mix of the two between the graph and the HER. But I do like how the HER is picking up on the storms, as you see, just north and east of Richmond, but it's not picking up on the storms that are coming down through Suffolk. So here we go. Some more storms developing. Bertie County looks like about, this is much slower. So this is bringing in about 7 o'clock, 7:30, and then exiting by 9 p.m. And then the lingering showers don't taper off until about 11:30. So this is not good agreement, which is unfortunate, because we have to really take this and say, okay, what do we as meteorologists think will happen? And for me, as I'm starting to see, I think the graph is doing a better job of really taking what we have at the moment and then putting it into its own analysis. And so with the storms going on now in Suffolk and the storms going on near Richmond, it's picking that up. So I'm going to go with the graph and say around 5 p.m. we'll see 4:30 to 5 p.m. in Bertie County, we could see some storms developing. But the whole time frame is around now until about 8 p.m. And I'll pull up our weather impact alert graphic so you can see the full view of what we're talking about for today. Severe thunderstorms are possible through about 8 p.m. today, and we'll see gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour and large hail. Large hail meaning hail up to 1 inch in diameter or greater. Again, I've been taking that same type of analogy, I guess, or relation, and saying go into your wallet, find a quarter, and pick up the quarter. The quarter's diameter, so the width of the quarter is how big that hail could be today. Now, we did say on Monday we could have ping pong ball size hail for Monday storms, and we did, but some of the hail actually ended up being larger. So doesn't mean we won't see hail larger than that, but severe hail is around 1 inch in diameter. So that is what we're watching for today. Also heavy downpours. That could produce a couple of travel impacts, especially since this rain is coming down during the heart of the work commute. Stay weather aware today. That means downloading our 13 News Now Plus app on your TV. For those who are watching us there already, thank you. If you have not downloaded the app, make sure to do so. It's free on your Apple TV, Roku TV, or Amazon Fire TV. Also, download our 13 News Now app on your mobile device, and that will give you alerts sent straight to your phone. Also, if you have a NOAA radio, that's also a great way to stay in touch with us and make sure that we're giving you directly from the government information about what's going on today. But again, we do have that level 2 risk in place for southeastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina, specifically the south side of the peninsula into the south side of Hampton Roads, including Franklin and including Smithfield, down all the way into Elizabeth City, the Outer Banks, Eaton, Husky. And again, for my viewer there in Bertie County, thank you for watching. You are included in this level 2 out of 5 risk. Again, our main threat for today is going to be damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. Our biggest threat, though, will be hail up to 1 inch in diameter, so quarter size. Tornadoes will not be in the picture for today. I'll check that one more time to make sure that the Storm Prediction Center did not update us in any tornado outlook. And they have not. So we are still not worried about tornadoes. We do not have the setup today for that specific threat. Flooding is also not going to be our main threat. We could see some buildup of water with some of those storms that produce heavy rainfall in poor drainage areas. It's just not going to be a widespread flooding threat for us. I'll even look up, because we do have levels of threats for flooding as well, if those who don't know. It's a level 1 through 4 risk. But we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, we're not even in a marginal, which is a level 1 risk for flooding. We are not. So that means that flooding is not a threat for us today. It's just going to be in places that just do not do well when heavy rainfall comes down. That, again, mainly poor drainage areas. And then one more look at this hour by hour so you know exactly how to prepare. I'll go back down to the graph because the graph did the best so far. And again, the big word we call initialization, meaning that what the model's picking up is on their first graphic is also picking up what's happening on radar. So this is through about 5 p.m. Strong storms exiting out from the south side, but still continuing through northeast North Carolina by about 8 to 9 p.m. Because temperatures go down, we lose that energy. And as temperatures fall to the 60s, that keeps us a little bit more stable overnight. But that cold front will also push out to sea, and so we're actually going to be left with a pretty nice day on Saturday. Overall, from now through tonight, we could pick up anywhere from a quarter of an inch up to even maybe 1 inch of rainfall, but it really depends on where these storms track. And as you can see with this graphic, most of that rain looks to track right around the south side in the northeast North Carolina, where that level 2 out of 5 risk is for today. Now, for those who are anticipating Mother's Day weekend, it should be a fabulous weekend for us. Temperatures should be in those lower 70s with seasonably cool weather. We'll have a lot of sunshine. On Mother's Day, we'll be a tad warmer in the middle 70s with increasing clouds and maybe a shower to our south, but even that chance remains low. We're talking partly cloudy conditions. So overall, a great way to celebrate your mom this weekend. So that cold front that's bringing all the severe storms now will not impact us as we get into the rest of your weekend. So weather impact alerts in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. We have increasing cloud cover throughout the day on Sunday. We'll be dry, though, on Saturday. Maybe a shower to our south on Sunday. And then next week, we return back to our unsettled pattern. We'll stay in the upper 70s to middle 80s. We'll climb pretty much each and every day. But we have rain chances over and over, especially as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, where we could have widespread showers in the picture. So even if you want to dust off your umbrella now and get it ready for today, we still are talking rain chances coming through again as we get into your rest of your day. Now for Friday, again, we are still talking that weather impact alert. We have a 70% chance of rain. That 20% chance is in for tonight. I'll give you one more look at our satellite and radar and what's going on here. But here's a look at our radar. We are seeing a few showers near the eastern shore. South side, Norfolk, you're about to get hit with a pretty heavy rainfall over the next few minutes or so into the western parts of Chesapeake. Suffolk, you're now out of that thunderstorm. Deep Creek, you're about to get hit with some heavy rainfall, producing about 2 inches of rain per hour. So just really heavy rain. Through Murfreesboro and Husky, we're starting to see some rain slip into the area now. Otherwise, that's about it for the rain here, but we are watching these thunderstorms as they produce some hail on the eastern or the western portions of the Richmond area that will head our direction over the next few hours. If you enjoyed this newscast, make sure to download the 13 News Now Plus app. We are seeing some of these thunderstorms tracking into our area later on today. We will be live on our newscast from 4 to 6 p.m. So make sure to stay tuned and watch us there. For now, I'm Meteorologist Taylor Stephenson. Thank you so much for joining me today. And Chief Meteorologist Tim Pendages will be on in just a few seconds with your forecast across our area. Thank you so much for watching.